Okay, let's close our eyes. And is our phones on mute? Okay, that's important. It can be helpful to breathe, just in general. And we'll start this out by remembering who we are. But before we can really go to who we are experientially, due to the momentum throughout the day of referring to the objects of our experience so heavily. Again, before we can experience ourself as who we are, which is objectless, formless, due to the momentum of our experiences throughout the day of being so focused on form or objects, body, emotions, thoughts, the world, it can be helpful to first place our attention fully on these objects. So, just like first we might, in nature, place our attention on the trees, in this instance, we're going to place our attention on the body. Just know that it's immediately before you. Know you are aware of it. Similarly with what the body may be feeling. Which actually, without referring to a thought, what we may be feeling emotionally is not discernible or separatable from the feeling of the body as a whole. Again, due to the body, always having a kind of sensation. Without referring to our thinking, we can't really separate this sensation of the body from an emotion we may be having or any other feeling we may feel. Again, without referring to thought, the sensation of the body and emotion cannot be identified as two distinct aspects. It is simply sensation of the body. And furthermore, we can't even really say of the body without referring to a thought. All we really know is sensation. There is a sensation immediately before us. We may also notice images that may arise. That may show us an image of the body. But again, without referring to thoughts or images, all we really know that's immediately before us is sensation. Not even sensation of a body, but simply sensation. Again, notice that sensation of the body immediately before us. But notice that we can't know this sensation is of a body without referring to a thought about the body or an image of the body. Notice how a thought or an image attempts to create an alternate experience of our direct experience of sensation. Notice how thought and images attempt to create an alternate experience of the direct experience of sensation. Notice how thought and images of the body create an alternate experience of sensation, making sensation of the body. But if we don't refer to thoughts or images, there's only sensation. If we stay strict to the facts of what we are aware of, which is a sensation exclusively, we cannot say without referring to a thought or an image that this sensation is of a body. Notice, though, how thought and images attempts to create an alternate experience of our direct experience. In this case, sensation. Now that we're aware of this sensation, let's notice what is being aware of it. What is this? What attributes could it be said that this awareness has? What does it do? Does it do anything? Is it just pure receptivity of whatever is in front of it? It simply knows. Even the idea of changing what it knows wouldn't even make sense to awareness. Even the idea of something being wrong or needing to be fixed because it's wrong wouldn't even compute with this deepest aspect of our experience. That's just the knowing of experience. And notice that we have not gone anywhere. Even though our point of view or vantage point has been relocated, we are still here. We didn't go anywhere. Because there's only ever here. And notice the content, body, emotions, thoughts, world, that happens to be in the space of the ever-present here is constantly changing, constantly shifting. But you are something much bigger, much more than this ever-shifting content of our experience, much more than the thoughts, emotions, body, world. Container. But you are always aware of this container. Which is filled with thoughts, emotions, body, other people, the world as a complete whole. All of it, everything. Everything in existence is in this container that we, pure receptive awareness, is aware of. And notice that after this meditation, we will relocate, to some degree, our awareness from this point of view or vantage point back to a vantage point that's more like a microscope. It brings us back to the closeness of it all. As we relocate our vantage point, our point of view, the point in which we're viewing experience from. But for now, we'll stay as the vantage point of awareness. that which knows the container of all experience, which is a single object from the vantage point of pure awareness. Earlier, we weren't referring to any objects. Earlier, we weren't referring to images. But now, we're going to go to an image exclusively. We're going to recall in our minds the image of your bothersome situation. Bring yourself back to that moment. Put yourself back in the shoes of yourself in that moment. And look at the walls. Remember the color. Remember the furniture. See the specific position of each person in the room. Even look at your hands in the image. Actually be in your shoes, looking at your hands through your eyes. Feel what it feels like to be in your body. Feel that emotion. Now, use this time to ground in this image. We're not necessarily playing anything out just yet, but just getting ourselves back there. And after we feel like we're sufficiently there, then we can ask ourselves, what is it about ourself that the primary person in this scene who's in opposition to us, doesn't like about us? What is it? What personality quality, characteristic, tendency, way of acting, way of speaking, way of behaving? What is it that they, the person whom is in opposition to us in this bothersome scene, doesn't like about us? And after you begin to discern what it is that they don't like, what is it? What is it that they don't like about us? Is it that we speak our minds too freely? Is it that we have our own ideas? Is it that we don't talk enough or talk too much. What was it at that time that they didn't like about us? And after you discern that, begin to trace your way from that present moment at that time back through time, back through your past, and find the source of where that personality characteristic or quality was first developed within you, was first beginning to be cultivated. Trace your way back and find some of the beginning stages of it. It may not be the specific moment in which it was first being cultivated as a part of your personality, but at least a time period in which, due to the factors that were occurring at that time, this personality quality was beginning to be a part of who you are today, a part of who you are in our bothersome, the time in our bothersome image. Notice that whatever was bothersome to the people in your life in the time of this bothersome scene, whatever is bothersome for them about you can be sourced back to first beginning to occur at some point. Even if it was five years old, or maybe it was when we were a teenager, beginning to be our own person, or maybe it was a habit from our 20s, or any other time period in our life. This part of you that's bothersome to this other person can be sourced back and seen the environment at that time in which this personality quality started to be cultivated. And it can be seen that in the environment at that time, this personality quality that the person in the bothersome situation time that they don't like, it was actually at an earlier time could even be seen as skillful due to the environment that it first started being cultivated, due to the environmental factors, the people whom were in your life at that time when this personality quality was first beginning to be cultivated. This way of being, those people in your life at that time, due to who they were, due to their personality, due to all the factors that were occurring in your life way back then, is the reason that personality quality started to be cultivated within you. and was likely very skillful. Whether that skill was as a result of surviving your environment at that time, or even thriving in your environment at that time. But notice how that bothersome personality quality is actually very skillful, given the environment in which that personality quality was first being cultivated. Now remember this time period. Remember the factors that were occurring at that time when this personality quality first started being cultivated. Remember the specific way those people were in your life at that time. The specific way that they were at that time. That was the coal, you could say. That was the pressure, whether perceived good or as bad, that produced the diamond of that personality quality that the person in the bothersome scenario doesn't like in the present time, in our present image. Now, after we've seen this, after we've seen this situation, this past time period, and when that bothersome personality quality was first formulated, and how it was actually very skillful, whether skillful due to a survival technique or skillful due to a thriving. Recognize how that was skillful at that time that it was first originally beginning to be a part of you today. And after you've seen that, now let's source back. Let's trace our way from that much earlier time period to back to the bothersome situation time period, and go back to that scene that we first created. Now, back in this bothersome scene, back in your body, looking at your hands, feeling your body, seeing the situation. Now, notice how freaking innocent your expression is that other person doesn't like. Notice how innocent that the occurrence of your expression is. Notice how it's simply a result of what was experienced in your life previously, a result of your own unique life experiences. And as you're in your body in that bothersome scene, really notice that. Notice that what the person whom is in opposition to you, notice how they don't like you in the way that they don't. But also notice how super innocent you are for that way that you are. Notice how super innocent you are. It's not like you had experiences in your life that had ridden you of that way of being. Obviously you didn't, otherwise that way of being wouldn't be there in the bothersome situation. And also remember how skillful this way of being was at the time period in which it first began to be a part of your personality. So again, in this bothersome scene, in your shoes, really being in your body, recognize how innocent you are, how innocent your expression is, and how this expression couldn't be any other way. Notice the innocence of this. Now, let's do something a bit unusual. Let's move from being in our shoes, feeling our body, looking at our hands, to the shoes of the person in the room whom is in opposition to you, whom is bothered by you, and whom you are bothered by. So put yourself in the shoes of that person. Feel what it feels like to be in that person's body. Forget everything you know about what it's like to be alive. And look at the hands of that person whose body you're in now through their eyes. Look down at your hands through their eyes. Look at their hands through their eyes. Feel what it feels like to be in their body. What are they feeling right now? What emotion is present? Wiggle your feet in their shoes. Now, look up at yourself through their eyes, having completely forgotten what it's like to live a life through your shoes. Look at yourself in their shoes through your eyes. And what do you see? What do they see when they look at you? What do you look like through their eyes? When you look at yourself through their eyes, what do you look like? Explore this. Become curious. What ways does it appear you're being difficult from their vantage point? Look at your actions through their eyes. What do those actions look like? What do those words you say look like through their eyes? recall what you don't like about this person whom you're in opposition to. Is it that they're untrustworthy? Is it that they don't listen? Is it that they're aggressive? Whatever personality quality you, in your normal state of mind, normal point of view, see in this other person, become clear on that. Have that defined. And now, still in their shoes, you could say, looking at their hands, through their eyes, fully in their shoes, feeling their body. Now let's use their body as kind of way to source back throughout their life, maybe even into childhood, where those personality qualities that you don't like about them in that bothersome situation was originally sourced from. And granted, you don't know all the facts of their life. And so, based on what you see, the way that they act and the way that they speak, and based on the facts you do know about them, and based on imagination, imagine what they must have to have experienced early in their life to make them speak the way they speak in this bothersome situation, or act the way they act in this bothersome situation. Source back by using your imagination and based on the facts you do know about them to a previous experience they must have had in their life, that they must have experienced, that may have begun to cultivate these personality qualities or ways of being in them. Imagine what that moment was for them. Imagine what that time period was like for them. And notice at that time period, for them to be the way they are in the present time, in the bothersome situation, present time. Imagine that situation. Imagine that time period, what must have occurred. And notice that those personality qualities at that time that were beginning to be cultivated are as a result of the people in their lives at that time whom were influencing them, whom were being harsh on them, who were being loving towards them. And notice that this personality quality that began to develop in them at that time is a result of a skill, an adaptation to the environment, whether it being out of survival or whether it being out of thriving. Notice that when this personality quality was first cultivated, it was out of skill. It was a result of that environment. Now tracing our way back from this imagined past moment in their life back to the present bothersome situation. Still you being in their body, looking through their eyes. Notice as you're looking at their hands through their eyes. Realize that this person couldn't have been any other way. This person and these qualities that I don't like are innocent. They're just simply a result of them having lived a life, them having had past experiences that honed and shaped the character that they happen to be expressing as today in this bothersome situation. And notice as you step out of this other person's body now and kind of look from a third person's perspective, seeing the whole room. Now watch these two people, yourself and the person whom you're in a type of opposition to, interact. And notice the wave, so to speak, of momentum behind them, all the years of experience that they've had, all like a wave rushing into that present moment, behind each of your backs, you could say. And notice how the two of you interact as a result of this wave. And notice the innocence of the way that each of you speak and that each of you act is as a result of everything that's come before. Interacting uniquely with each other's wave, only in the way that each of you could interact based on your own unique wave, your own unique life experiences. Now, whether this was a memory from long ago, a bothersome situation from a long ago, or a bothersome situation from more recently, begin to explore what could be helpful for you to see in this situation, giving all the facts that we just highlighted, moving forward. And whether this was something more recent or something that occurred a long time ago, still look to see what you need to see in this situation moving forward, because it will still have the same impact as far as the way you experience yourself in the present today. So look in this bothersome scene and see the way these two waves, these two people just come together so innocently. And see what you need to see in there that would be helpful as a takeaway moving forward. And even include in this image of this bothersome situation, embed in it deeply the remembrance of yourself as something much larger. Put yourself back in the shoes of yourself in that bothersome situation, and look at your hands and feel yourself being in your body, and deeply impress and deeply remember yourself as this infinite field of awareness immediately prior to this scene that's unfolding, immediately prior to the container that life is. Remember yourself as that and impress that memory upon this scene, to where if this is a current event happening, it will increase the likelihood of your remembrance of this. And if it's a past moment long ago that you're remembering, then that will also influence the way you experience that memory today. If it's a past scene long ago, then you're kind of teaching yourself back then at that very young age. You're kind of giving them skills that they didn't have back then. You're kind of altering a timeline, if you will, that will affect you differently today. And just embed the remembrance of yourself as this infinite field of awareness into this bothersome scene. Remembering you are not the scene. You are not the container of life. You are what is outside of that container. Immediately prior to that container, this pure receptivity, infinite field of awareness that this container of life arises within. And then bring that lightness, bring that infinite freedom, merge it in with all the atoms of that image. And notice how airy that whole bothersome scene can begin to be. Fill it with the infinite awareness, the airiness of infinite awareness. Begin to penetrate the whole scene with the airiness of infinite awareness. Now, after we've done this, the last thing we'll do is go back to our shoes, be ourself again in that bothersome moment. Look at your hands if needed, look at the other people through your eyes, and begin to clarify and conclude once again, if you haven't already, what you might need to take with you, what a takeaway might be, what your conclusion is from this experience. And when you feel like you're sufficiently concluded, bring your attention back to, very slowly, back to, well, let's word it like this. We'll reposition our point of identification from this infinite field of awareness. Bring it slowly in, not forgetting it, but bring it slowly in back to our physical body, back to feelings we may have, back to thoughts we may have. And when we feel sufficiently ready and concluded, taking a deep breath and opening your eyes as you bring your attention back to the world. I'd love to hear what your guys' experience was.